The discovery behind sacred walls. The old church bells hadn't rung in decades, but tonight they seemed to vibrate with an otherworldly energy. Marcus Kane pulled his maintenance truck closer to the crumbling stone building, windshield wipers fighting against the relentless downpour. A storm had knocked out power across 3 counties, and Pastor Williams needed the backup generator running before Sunday service. Marcus stepped into the mud, his boots sinking deep as he hauled his toolbox toward the church. At 35, he had seen enough broken things to know when something didn't belong. The strange blue glow emanating from behind the church definitely didn't belong. He found her huddled against the stone wall, barely conscious and wearing what looked like liquid starlight. Her skin held an ethereal pale blue tint, and her hair cascaded like silver moonbeams. Most shocking were her eyes' violet orbs that seemed to hold the depth of space itself. She was beautiful in a way that made his chest tight, but she was also clearly not human. "Please," she whispered in accented English, her voice like wind chimes in a gentle breeze. "They hunt me. They kill my guards. I am alone." Marcus knelt beside her, his practical mind warring with his protective instincts. Blood, if that's what the glowing silver fluid was, seeped from wounds along her arms and torso. Her clothing, some kind of advanced material he couldn't identify, was torn and scorched. "Who's hunting you?" Marcus asked, wrapping his jacket around her trembling form. "The hegemony," she breathed. "They destroyed my world, killed my family. I am Princess Lyring of the Celestial Dominion, last of my bloodline." Marcus felt the weight of those words. Princess, alien royalty bleeding out behind a country church, in the middle of nowhere. He made a decision that would change everything. "Can you walk?" he asked Dot. She nodded weakly. Marcus helped her to his truck, every instinct screaming that this was bigger than anything he could handle. But he couldn't leave her to die. Dot, as they drove through the storm toward his isolated farmhouse. Princess Lyring explained through labored breaths. The hegemony was a conquering force sweeping across the galaxy, enslaving or exterminating entire species. Her people, the Celestials, had been one of the few races capable of uniting others against the threat. "Your world," she whispered, "Earth, is next. They come in waves. First scouts, then invasion fleets." Marcus gripped the steering wheel tighter. "How long do we have?" "Days, maybe less." At his farmhouse, Marcus tended to her wounds with medical supplies meant for injured livestock. Her blood glowed faintly, and where it touched his skin, he felt a strange tingling sensation. She was healing faster than should be possible. "Why Earth?" he asked. "Strategic position. Rich resources, but mostly." She looked at him with those impossible eyes. Humans intrigued them. "Your species shows unusual potential." As dawn broke, Marcus realized his simple life was over. An alien princess sat at his kitchen table, warning of galactic war. And somehow, he was now humanity's first line of defense. First contact protocol of the farmhouse felt different with Princess Lyring in it. Marcus had spent the night watching her sleep, marveling at how the silver patterns on her skin shifted like living tattoos. When she woke, her violet eyes were clearer, more alert. "I must contact my people," she said, sitting up carefully. "The beacon in my escape pod, if it still functions." Marcus poured coffee, his hands steadier than he felt. "Where did you crash?" "The forest, perhaps 2 miles north. But the hegemony scouts will be searching." They found the crash site just after noon. The escape pod was a twisted wreck of metal and crystal, buried 20 feet into the earth. Marcus had never seen technology like its surfaces that rippled like water, conduits that pulsed with inner light. "Most systems are dead," Lyring said, running her hands over the controls. "But the quantum communicator might work with modifications." "What kind of modifications?" She looked at him with something approaching respect. Human ingenuity. Your species has a reputation for making impossible things work. For the next 6 hours, Marcus found himself rewiring alien technology with Earth components. His background in electrical engineering, combined with Lyrian's guidance, slowly brought the communicator to life. The process was unlike anything he'd experienced. The alien systems seemed to respond to intent as much as technical skill. There, Lyrian breathed as the device hummed to life. Now we transmit. The message was brief, sent in a language that sounded like music. When it was done, Lyrian slumped against the pod, exhausted. How long until they respond? Marcus asked. The nearest celestial fleet is 3 systems away. Even with quantum transmission, it could be days before they arrive. That evening, as they returned to the farmhouse, Marcus noticed lights in the sky. Not stars, these moved with purpose, descending through the atmosphere in perfect formation. They're here, Lyrian whispered. The hegemony scouts. Marcus watched the alien ships land in the distant hills, their forms barely visible against the night sky. He thought of his neighbors, his community, all the people who had no idea their world was about to change forever. What do they want? First, he asked, information. They'll study your species, your technology, your weaknesses. Then they'll decide whether to enslave or exterminate. Marcus felt something cold settle in his stomach. And if they choose extermination, then Earth dies and another world falls to the hegemony. That night, Marcus sat on his porch with a rifle across his knees, watching the alien lights pulse in the distance. Beside him, Princess Lyrian worked on a small device she'd salvaged. From the pod. What's that? He asked. Emergency beacon? If activated, it will summon every celestial ship within 50 light years. Why haven't you used it? She looked at him with sad eyes. Because it will also alert the hegemony to my location. They will come in force to ensure I cannot rally resistance. Marcus understood. She was choosing between her own safety and the chance to save Earth. It was the kind of impossible decision that would define everything that came after. We'll find another way, he said. Princess Lyrian smiled, the first genuine smile he'd seen from her. Now I understand why the Celestials speak of human determination. You refuse to accept defeat. As the alien scouts began their survey of Earth, Marcus Kane and Princess Lyrian prepared for a war that would reshape the galaxy. Neither knew that their partnership would become the foundation of humanity's greatest triumph. The gathering stormed 3 days after first contact. Marcus barely recognized his own life. His farmhouse had become an impromptu command center, filled with jury-rigged alien technology and desperate plans. Princess Lyrian worked tirelessly, too. Established communication with Earth's governments, while Marcus coordinated with local authorities who were still struggling to believe the situation. The hegemony scouts had been busy. Reports flooded in from around the globe cattle mutilations that were clearly biological sampling, power grids mysteriously failing, and strange aircraft spotted over major cities. The aliens were methodical, thorough, and terrifyingly efficient. They're mapping our defenses, Lyrian explained, studying readouts from her reconstructed sensors. Population centers, military installations, communication networks. Standard. Pre-invasion protocol. Marcus had managed to get a secure line to the Pentagon. General Patricia Holt, a no-nonsense career soldier, had become their primary contact. Her voice crackled through the encrypted channel. Princess, we need to know what we're facing. How many ships? What kind of weapons? Lyrian's expression was grim. A full hegemony invasion fleet consists of approximately 200 vessels. Their primary ships are dreadnoughts 3 kilometers long, heavily armed and shielded. They also deploy swarms of fighter craft and boarding vessels. And Earth's chances? Without assistance? None. Your weapons cannot penetrate their shields. Your fastest ships would be destroyed before closing to weapons range. Marcus saw the despair in General Holt's eyes through the video feed. Then we're looking at extinction. Not necessarily, Lyrin said. The celestial fleet I contacted will arrive in 18 hours. But they're only a reconnaissance force 12 ships. Not enough to defeat a full invasion fleet. So what do you suggest? Marcus had been thinking about this for days. We don't fight them ship to ship. We fight them the human way. Both women looked at him questioningly. Guerrilla warfare. Hit and run. Make them pay for every inch. Marcus stood, pacing as ideas formed. They're used to conventional battles, right? Fleet engagements, orbital bombardments. But humans, we've been fighting asymmetric warfare for centuries. Lyrian's eyes widened with understanding. You want to turn Earth into a fortress world. Exactly. Underground facilities, distributed command structures, mobile strike teams. Make it too costly for them to hold. General Holt leaned forward. That's assuming we can survive the initial bombardment. The Celestials can help with that, Lyrin said, excitement building in her voice. Their ships carry shield generators. If we can coordinate the timing, the next 12 hours were a blur of activity. Marcus found himself at the center of the most important military planning session in human history. His farmhouse filled with officers, scientists, and engineers as they worked to prepare Earth's defenses. The plan was ambitious and desperate. In equal measure, the arriving celestial ships would deploy their shields over major population centers, protecting them from orbital bombardment. Meanwhile, human forces would retreat to predetermined strongholds, modified mines, reinforced. Subway systems, hardened bunkers. The key is making them come down to fight us, Marcus explained to the assembled officers. In space, they have every advantage. On the ground, with their numbers limited by landing capacity, we might have a chance, General Holt finished as night fell. The celestial fleet arrived. Marcus watched from his porch as 12 sleek vessels descended through the atmosphere, their hulls gleaming like polished mirrors. They were beautiful and deadly, but pitifully few against what was coming. Princess Lyrin stood beside him, her hand finding his. Whatever happens, Marcus Kane, you should know that you've given my people hope. The hegemony has never faced a species like yours. What makes humans different? She smiled. Most species, when faced with impossible odds, surrender or flee. Humans seem to get more stubborn. The communication system crackled to life. Long-range sensors had detected the hegemony invasion fleet entering the solar system. 200 ships, just as Lyrin had predicted. Estimated time to Earth orbit? General Holt asked. 14 hours, came the reply. Marcus looked at the alien princess who had changed his life, then at the celestial ships positioning themselves over Earth's cities. In 14 hours, the real battle would begin. Princess, he said, I hope your people are ready to see what humans can do when we're cornered. Her violet eyes gleamed with anticipation. Marcus Kane, I believe this will be a battle the galaxy remembers forever. When worlds collide, the hegemony fleet arrived like a plague of locusts, their massive dreadnoughts blotting out the stars. Marcus stood in the underground command bunker they'd hastily constructed beneath his farmhouse, watching the tactical displays with growing dread. 200 alien warships versus 12 celestial vessels, and Earth's primitive defenses. The numbers were impossible. Incoming transmission, announced Lieutenant Torres, the communications officer who'd been assigned to their makeshift headquarters. It's from the hegemony flagship. The holographic display activated, revealing a creature that would haunt Marcus's nightmares. The hegemony commander was insectoid, with 6 arms and compound eyes that glittered with malevolent intelligence. When it spoke, its voice was a chittering rasp that the translation systems rendered in cold mechanical English. Primitive species of the third planet. I am Warlord Kreeth of the Hegemony. You harbor a war criminal, the one called Princess Lyring. Surrender her immediately, and your deaths will be swift. General Holt stepped forward. This is General Patricia Holt of the United Earth Defense Force. We don't negotiate with invaders. The alien's mandibles clicked in what might have been amusement. Earth Defense Force? Your entire species possesses no weapons capable of threatening our vessels. You will be catalogued, processed, and either enslaved or terminated. The choice is yours. Here's our choice, Marcus said, surprising everyone by stepping into the transmission range. Go back where you came from, or we'll show you why humans are the galaxy's worst nightmare. Warlord Kreeth's attention fixed on him. You dare threaten the hegemony? You are nothing but bipedal insects on a backwater world. Maybe, Marcus replied. But we're the insects that are about to ruin your day. The transmission cut off. Within minutes, the hegemony bombardment began. The celestial shield generators performed admirably, protecting major cities from the initial orbital strikes. But they couldn't cover everything. Rural areas, small towns, and isolated installations disappeared in brilliant flashes of alien fire. Estimated casualties? General Holt asked grimly. First wave. Approximately 2 million dead, Torres reported, his voice shaking. Princess Lyring placed her hand on Marcus's shoulder. I'm sorry. This is my fault. I brought this war to your world. No, Marcus said firmly. You gave us a chance to fight back. That's more than most worlds get. The ground battle began at dawn. Hegemony dropships descended through the atmosphere, disgorging thousands of insectoid warriors. But they found no massive human armies waiting to meet them in traditional battlefield formations. Instead, they found empty cities booby-trapped with improvised explosives. They found snipers in every building, tunnel systems that allowed human forces to appear and disappear like ghosts. They found a species that refused to fight fair. Marcus coordinated the defense from his bunker, watching reports stream in from around the globe. In New York, subway tunnels had become a maze of death traps. In Tokyo, the sewer systems housed mobile missile teams. In London, ancient underground stations had been converted into fortress command centers. The enemy is adapting, reported Colonel Zhang from the Beijing sector. They're using thermal imaging to track our movements. Then we adapt faster, Marcus replied. Switch to the contingency protocols. Time to show them what human creativity looks like. The contingency protocols were Marcus's brainchild, a series of increasingly desperate and unconventional tactics designed to exploit every possible hegemony weakness. Human forces began using everything from agricultural chemicals to create improvised chemical weapons, to hijacked alien technology, repurposed for sabotage. The turning point came when a team of engineers in Detroit managed to capture an intact hegemony shuttle. Within hours, human technicians had reverse-engineered its basic systems and began producing crude but functional copies of alien weapons. How is this possible? Princess Lyring asked, watching the technical readouts in amazement. It took my people decades to understand hegemony technology. Humans are good at breaking things, Marcus replied. And once we break something, we figure out how to build it better. The captured technology changed everything. Human forces began hitting hegemony positions with their own weapons, turning the aliens' technological advantage against them. More importantly, the psychological impact was devastating to the invaders. Status report from Warlord Kreeth, Torres announced. He's requesting reinforcements. Marcus allowed himself a grim smile. The mighty hegemony needs help conquering a primitive world? As the battle raged into its third day, something unprecedented happened. The hegemony forces began to retreat from several major engagements. falling back to defensive positions around their landing zones. "They're scared," Princess Lyrin said, wonder in her voice. "In 3,000 years of conquest, I've never seen hegemony forces retreat from a ground engagement." "That's because they've never fought humans before," Marcus replied. "And now they're learning why that was a mistake." The war was far from over, but for the first time since the invasion began, Marcus felt hope. Earth was still fighting, humanity was still standing, and the galaxy was about to learn that sometimes the smallest species could cast the longest shadows. Birth of an empire. The siege of Earth lasted 37 days. When it ended, the galaxy would never be the same. Marcus stood in the ruins of what had once been downtown Chicago, watching hegemony prisoners being escorted to transport ships. The insectoid aliens that had once seemed so terrifying now appeared broken, their compound eyes dull with defeat. Around him, human soldiers worked alongside celestial forces to clear the rubble and begin reconstruction. The turning point had come during the 4th week of fighting. Marcus's guerrilla tactics had proven so effective that Warlord Kreeth had been forced to request not just reinforcements, but an entirely new invasion strategy. The Hegemony High Command, in a move that stunned the galactic community, had actually recalled their forces from 3 other conquest campaigns to deal with the Earth problem. 57 hegemony vessels destroyed or captured, General Halt reported, her voice filled with exhausted satisfaction. Estimated enemy casualties, over 200,000. Our losses were worth it, Marcus finished. Every single one? Princess Lyrin approached, her royal bearing restored now that the immediate threat had passed. The silver patterns on her skin glowed with health and vitality, and her violet eyes held something Marcus had never seen before: respect mixed with something deeper. "The Celestial High Council has made their decision," she announced. "Earth will be granted full membership in the Galactic Alliance, with all the rights and protections that entails." "That's generous," Marcus said, "but I don't think we're interested in just joining someone else's alliance." Both Lyrin and General Holt stared at him. "What do you mean?" Marcus gestured to the battlefield around them, where human ingenuity had turned alien technology into weapons of liberation. "Look what we accomplished in 5 weeks. We took their best ships, their best weapons, their best soldiers, and we sent them running. Why should we settle for being junior partners in someone else's empire?" "You're talking about challenging the established galactic order," Lyrin said carefully. "I'm talking about establishing a new one." Marcus's voice carried the confidence of a man who had stared down impossible odds and won. "The hegemony has been conquering worlds for millennia because nobody fought back effectively. We changed that. Now every species in the galaxy knows it's possible to win." The transformation began immediately. Within months, Earth's captured alien technology had been reverse-engineered and improved upon. Human shipyards, hastily constructed in Earth orbit, began producing vessels that combined human innovation with alien engineering. The results were revolutionary. The first human fleet left Earth 8 months after the invasion ended. Their destination, the hegemony slave world of Kepler 442b, where an enslaved species called the Thraxi had been sending secret messages requesting liberation. Marcus commanded the flagship, a hybrid vessel he'd personally helped design. Princes. Lyrin served as his diplomatic advisor, representing the growing alliance between humanity and the Celestial Dominion. The liberation of Kepler 442b took exactly 4 days. "The hegemony garrison surrendered without a fight," reported Captain Jennifer Walsh, Marcus's second-in-command. "The Thraxi are free." Word spread quickly through the galaxy. The humans, the species that had been dismissed as primitive just months before, were actively hunting down hegemony forces and liberating their conquests. More importantly, they were winning. Within 2 years, The Terran Empire controlled 47 star systems. Unlike the hegemony's brutal conquest model, the Terran approach was based on voluntary alliance and mutual benefit. Species that joined. The Empire retained their autonomy while gaining access to human technology and military protection. The Hegemony High Command has formally requested a ceasefire, Princess Lirin announced during a strategy meeting aboard the flagship. They're offering to recognize Terran territorial claims in exchange for an end to hostilities. Marcus leaned back in his command chair, considering. Around him, the bridge crew, a mix of humans and allied species, waited for his decision. Counteroffer, he said finally. Complete withdrawal from all conquered territories, reparations for enslaved populations, and formal recognition of the Terran Empire as the dominant galactic power. They'll never accept those terms, warned Admiral Chun, the former Earth Defense Force officer who now commanded the Terran Navy. Then they'll keep losing systems until they do, Marcus replied. The final hegemony. Surrender came 3 years after the invasion of Earth. The signing ceremony took place on board the flagship, with representatives from dozens of liberated worlds in attendance. Warlord Kreeth himself signed the documents, his once proud mandibles clicking in defeat. Princess Lirin, now officially the Terran Empire's ambassador to the Celestial Dominion, stood beside Marcus as they watched the former conquerors depart. In shame. Did you ever imagine it would end like this? She asked, when you found me behind that church? Marcus smiled, remembering the terrified alien princess he'd discovered in the mud. I knew you were special. I just didn't know you were going to help us conquer the galaxy. We didn't conquer it, Lirin corrected. We liberated it. Is there a difference? She took his hand, her skin warm against his. With humans, apparently there is. As the last hegemony ship disappeared into hyperspace, Marcus Kane, former maintenance worker turned emperor of the galaxy's most powerful empire, looked out at the stars and wondered what impossible thing humanity would accomplish next.